this sort of topic, but man, it's so weird, right? MMOs without quests. Here's my top 5 lists. A lot of people do want to play MMOs for different reasons, but most of them are RPGs, and a lot of people who want to get into the genre feel that the linearity of a lot of games is kind of a turnoff, and generally you find that in the questing. Now, I think that questing can be fun, can be really good, and I think quests in RuneScape are the best. That is the pinnacle of questing. They're literal quests, and they can turn into epics. But not all MMOs are like that. Most being RPGs, most following the WoW formula. It can get repetitive, it can get boring. So, if you want to know what some good MMOs are that don't have quests or can be played entirely without and separate from the questing, then I think I've got the list for you. I'm just going to throw this out there. Let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Here we go. Top 5 MMO without quests. Okay, so starting out our list, we do have a game that does in fact have quests. Yeah, I know, I like starting out, top 10s and top 5s like this, just slapping you guys in the face. But no, I'm serious, guys. If you guys have not played Guild Wars 2, you should know that the questing systems in Guild Wars 2 is weird. It's very strange and different. A lot of other games have been kind of taking notice and following suit. So Guild Wars 2 has its own separate single-player-ish questing system called the Living Story. Now, whenever you get the game for free to play, you do have your own story that you can play through, and then you have to buy the episodes as they come out, as they release, and you can play them. But other than that, Guild Wars 2, you can just level through PvP. You can also just run around and just discover the world. You can just run around and grind. You can kind of do what you want to an extent. It is a proper true theme park in the sense that it's actually an open area that you can go and choose which rides to ride and which ones to do. If you want to do World v World, the structured PvP, if you want to do the questing, you can, but like everything else can run totally separate. And honestly, guys, I've been playing since it released. I just got the new expansion actually, so I can't wait to run into that, but like I haven't done the single player or the episodes like at all. So yeah, I'm mostly a PvP kind of guy myself. You can definitely run through Guild Wars 2. It's definitely the most open theme park MMO. In my opinion, it is the most proper theme park. A theme park isn't just you're forced to ride a roller coaster, through nonstop. The MMO genre isn't just roller coasters. There are proper theme parks, and that is Guild Wars 2. So if you don't want to do the questing, you don't have to, and it's hella fun regardless. Okay guys, so officially starting our list here at number 5, I'm gonna put a game called Trove. Now Trove is a weird game. In some classes, it's kind of a shooter, like a third-person shooter type of game. Some of the other classes are a little bit more melee, but there's a lot of different, very strange classes, and most of the gameplay is focused on just jumping around, like literally like parkouring around the world, like triple, quadruple, like dozen style jumps. It's really ridiculous. You're flying all over the place. You're finding dungeons, dive into the dungeons, just jump in, slash, and blast your way through, and then teleport back out and redo over and over and over again as you go through the tiers of the different worlds. So the game has like this weird layering system. So you have like the noobish zones, but then you kind of go into the higher zones and higher zones and higher zones, and you constantly like climb this essentially a tower in ways. And it looks all voxely. You're gonna be running around mining and blowing up stuff literally with bombs and giant abilities. And like you instantaneously like can jump into the game and you get your class, and in a few minutes you get all the abilities for that class, and then you just kind of redo it over and over and over and over and over and over and over again. I think it's actually got a lot of charm. I think it's easy to get into. The monetization did change though more recently, so it's a lot more grindy. They've also locked away the classes. They're not as easy to unlock, or maybe not at all. I think you might have to buy them into them. So a little bit of weirdness, of course, being try-on game, but it's still a fun game, I think, for the family overall. And one of those games that you can just jump in and jump out. It's super casual, super easy. I think there's some interesting stuff going on with it, but without quests, it's even easier to just join in with friends, make friends, play literally with your family, son, cousins, whatever, and have a blast. All right, next up at number 4, I'm going to put a game that I just played called Worlds Adrift. That's going to be the gameplay in the background, but I'm actually going to be kind of talking about the full scopage of all of these early access and Kickstarter MMOs. It seems like the new trend. For those of you who are looking for a video like this, MMOs without quests, you probably want to know that almost all of the new MMOs coming out that were kickstarted are really focused on being sandboxes. So a lot of sandbox MMOs do have quests and they intermingle their questing, and a lot of times it's bad, but a lot don't. So there's games like Gloria Victis, Life is Feudal, they don't have questing, and you can just jump in with a guild and maybe have some fun, but generally as solo players, they're not very good. Worlds Adrift, I think, is a cool game to showcase because I did just play it. I do have a first look on it, an hour-long first look, dude. It was so hype. I think you guys should check it out. But yeah, I think it's really cool to see these sandboxy open world games that just forego the questing, and that's going to be a lot of upcoming ones. So I don't know if there's going to be proper quests in Crowfall, but definitely like Chronicles of Illyria, it looks to be more player driven. They might still have quests, but we are getting more of this hardcore-ish, just jump in and focus on the gameplay, on the grind, jumping out into dungeons, partying with other players, and just getting rid of that stupid WoW-ish, questing design that has really polluted, I would say, games like Final Fantasy XIV, which makes it a big slog in my opinion. So Worlds Adrift, definitely want to highlight that. If you guys don't know, since gameplay in the background, freaking airships, customized airships. You know, there's a floating islands. There's even an island creator system that you can play through with. But basically, yeah, grappling hooks, airships, cool stuff, and a lot of other MMOs upcoming are doing a lot of weird stuff in the sandbox genre, but they're not really focusing on questing. Just open world, jump in, jump out, good stuff. So, Worlds Adrift and many others. I'm gonna throw it here at number 4. All right, guys, next up, halfway on the list, we have Realm of the Mad God, and this is kind of where the list really is going to begin for a lot of people, but Realm of the Mad God is a game that is already established. Everything past this has been established, proven its worth, and has shown how it can be a little bit influential to some other games, and definitely influence the MMO market and communities as of right now. So Realm of the Mad God, we've all heard of it, we all know of it. It doesn't have any questing. Now, it also doesn't have a lot. It's a very straightforward and simple game, so that's true, but I also really love mentioning it because MMOs don't need to be these giant, massive, immersive worlds. They can just be something very simple and something very arcade and just do that specific thing really freaking good. So there are a lot of clones out there that are popping up, Survived by, published by Digital Extremes just recently. That one actually has questing, but Realm of the Mad God, it has quests, bunny ears, but they're not actual questing in terms of mechanics. They are open world events, so something similar to Guild Wars 2 or APB Reloaded or the Fate system in Final Fantasy. Those aren't quests, but in Realm of the Mad God, they call them quests. You get a quest, it's dynamic, you just randomly, kind of dynamically party up with other players, and you go and, you know, kill big bosses in the world, basically. There's also open dungeons, stuff like that, but there's no questing proper. You're not going to be going and baking a cake or shaving sheep like you would in RuneScape or something like that. This is a bullet hell rogue light style game where, yeah, permadeath exists, and you actually level up through permadeath. It's pretty strange, it's pretty weird. I think it's a cool, fun little game, and it's really remarkable in terms of how unique it is compared to the rest of the MMOs. And if you're looking at a list like that, I think you're looking for that. All right, guys, number 2, I'm putting PlanetSide 2. Now, this is probably the game that you knew would be on the list. It's very obvious. It's been around for a little bit, and it's also not an RPG. It's MMO FPS. It is just an FPS. It is like you literally get in the game, you choose a faction, you choose a class, you jump down, boom, pow, right? Like that's all you do is you just jump in and have these massive sieges with other players. I guess you could kind of play like a little bit sneakity sneak, maybe go with a squad strike mission somewhere, flankety flank. But most people are just gonna be jumping down and doing those 100-player battles, you know, conquesting around the map together, jumping in tanks, stuff like that. But that's what you do. There is no questing. There is no linearity. It is just, okay, there's a battle over here. I'm gonna clickety-clack to spawn over there, or I'm gonna fly over there, and I'm just gonna blow some shit up. Or get blown up. That's gonna happen a lot too, as a new player, definitely. But there is definitely a skill ceiling for this game. It plays so freaking weird. If you're a fan of games like Battlefield, PlanetSide is definitely gonna probably fit the bill for you. And generally, MMO gameplays, like in Battlegrounds and stuff like that, if that kind of turns you on and flicks your nipples, I think PlanetSide 2 might milk your prostate just a little bit. You could have a good time. And now, our number 1, I'm gonna slap down Albion Online. Now, normally I'd put this lower on the list, but the thing is that Albion Online really reminds me of RuneScape, a game that I've mentioned just a few times with references here in this video, because that has amazing quests. But Albion is basically, in my opinion, kind of like RuneScape, but just focused on PvP and PvP mechanics. Now, it does have PvE, there are dungeons, there are, I think, debatably quests, again, bunny ears, in this game, but no, not really. The game is totally open sandbox. It's totally, like, you start out almost like a survival game, naked, you gotta, you know, punch some trees, collect some rocks and stuff, and then from there, cobble together an epic persona, and then, you know, join a guild, and you could build towns or cities together, you can siege. There's a lot of PvP ganking involved, and there is PvE. It's a PvEVP game, and I think it's really fun. It's got mechanics similar to League of Legends with a 0 turn rate, a lot of skill shots, a tremendous amount of skill shots, actually, and there's a lot of teamwork, too, and some really weird builds you can do. I especially like the Arcane staff being a shield support. So there's some fun, cool things that I like about Albion, and it's actually getting a new update, the Merlin update, coming up pretty soon here, and it's had a lot of stuff, you know, the momentum slowly building up again after its really rocky launch, so I'm getting back into it, and hopefully you guys too. For an MMO without quests, which is really an RPG here, this is an MMO RPG, but completely foregoing questing and just focus on the player, economy, community, and player versus player, heck yeah, dude, Albion Online is probably the game you're looking for. Despite its cartoon graphics and, you know, the ability that it can run on mobile, it's actually a pretty substantial MMO in its own right, and I think you guys should give it a shot. So guys, that's going to be it for my top 5 MMO without quests. Now there's a few others that you might be able to debate could go on this list. I decided not to choose them. I decided just to show a few games that I was excited about jumping back into more recently. But I know there's games like Gloria Victis out there, or Life is Feudal, and you maybe even could say Eve, though it does kind of have missions and things. But anyways, guys, I just wanted to know your thoughts and feelings on this topic. Let me know in the comments below. Also keep in mind, guys, that these videos are thanks to my Patreon. These list videos. I can't just play tons of games and then compile them together over and over again. So if you want more unique lists, more weird top 10s, and you know, it really me trying to find new games and show them off to you, well, hey, peel some eyeballs on the Patreon. Thanks for the donations. Thanks for the love and support, liking and sharing.